with the Procurement Technical Assistance Program, and I am introducing Jennifer Schaus. She is a consultant who has a firm down in Washington, D.C., focuses on government contracting sector. She is going to talk to us today about GSA schedules and whether they're worthwhile to look into. Jennifer, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Great. So first of all, thanks Elizabeth for a very warm introduction, and thanks to the George Mason PTAP Procurement Technical Assistance Program that helps government contractors, and thanks everybody for taking time out of your day to join us. So as Elizabeth mentioned, today's topic is GSA schedules, and GSA schedules are really a marketing tool not required to sell to the government. So today's session, we've got about an hour slotted for the topic, and we'll go through some slides and then leave some room at the end for Q&A. So as we go through the slides, if you have questions, you can go ahead and type them in on the right-hand side. Everything will be recorded, so at the end of this presentation, I think we'll probably email the presentation and the audio out to everybody. So with that, we'll dig in here to the first slide. We'll let Elizabeth explain a little bit more about the app, and we'll get into the presentation. And for those that are calling in, if you can mute yourselves. Okay, thank you. So as I mentioned, we'll dig into the presentation and then cover the Q&A towards the end. So we've got plenty of time for that. So Elizabeth, I'll let you kind of get it down and dirty on what you guys do over there.
So the Virginia Procurement Technical Assistance Program is funded by the Defense Logistics Agency. The purpose of our program is to provide assistance to small businesses who want to do business with the government. We have counseling available for free. Various counselors have expertise in different topic areas, so you can sign up on our website, vaptap.org, and request counseling on whether you're looking for RFP review, if you have questions on pricing, GSA, a topic like this, looking to get registered and certified with a set-aside, or if you're just looking for some general counsel as a government contractor on a lot of a range of topics. The classes and registration, the registration for counseling will allow you also to be tracked in our system. So if we have someone from a government agency contact us and say we're looking for companies who have a certain certification and are listed under this NAICS code, then we actually can pull that information from our database, as long as you keep it up to date, and actually send out information that may be targeted to your business. We have classes on a lot of topics. We post them on our website as well. Usually the registration fees are fairly minimal, and we hope that you can find value on the classes. And if you have a subject matter that you don't see us offering a topic on that you'd like to, then feel free to contact me through the website and just make a request. We have a very robust calendar and are going to continue to add as needed. And we have locations throughout Virginia. The program is not just in Northern Virginia. We have counselors down in Richmond, Charlottesville, Williamsburg, and they can travel as well to any of the areas that we cover. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Okay, great. Thanks, Elizabeth. And again, they are a fantastic resource, especially if you're just starting out or even if you're already well immersed in government contracting. Sometimes you just may need to get a second set of eyes to look at, as Elizabeth said, pricing or your proposals or just fine-tuning some of your skills. So a little bit about me and my background. I've got a company that's based in Washington, D.C. I've been in the government contracting business for about 20 years, and that includes a variety of positions, anything from being a federal sales and marketing rep for product companies as well as data companies. I actually started my career with Dun & Bradstreet, writing credit reports on companies, and then got recruited to come to their government division, where we were selling those credit reports to contracting officers. And the contracting officers would then look at the DMB report to make a contract decision to ensure that the company that they were going to award a contract to had the financial strength to maintain the terms and conditions of the contract. So for anyone that's on the line, I'm sure you all have your DUNS number and hopefully are registered in SAM and kind of those required first steps to get into the process. In the last 8 years, I've had my own business, and we've worked with product and service companies, small and large companies. On the large side, we helped Chevron obtain their GSA schedule. We've done some work with L3 and currently working with Apt Associates. So those are kind of the big guys that we've worked with, but we've also service companies, smaller and mid-sized, all around the world, clients in Canada, Italy, and spread across the U.S. as well. And so we will we'll dig into the presentation here, and just to give you kind of an overview of what the GSA schedule is and what it is not, we'll cover kind of really the basics here. And just as an FYI, this webinar is more or less a precursor or prerequisite for a hands-on workshop that we're going to present in conjunction with George Mason PTAP on January 9th. The original date we had, I think, was January 8th, and that's been changed to the 9th. So at the end of this webinar, and kind of make a business decision that the GSA schedule is something you want to pull the trigger on and you want some additional assistance with completing the proposal, that hands-on workshop will be January 9th, and all the details are on both my website as well as the George Mason PTAP calendar. Okay, so GSA schedule overview. It's a contract vehicle or a marketing tool, meaning that it's something that makes you more attractive to the government. It is not required. Only about 10% of purchases, federal purchases, take place through the schedule. So even though 10% is a low number, it's still a fairly sizable dollar amount. So with that being said, you really want to make sure that you know who your customer is and how they purchase, because there are other contract vehicles out there. The schedule is a multiple award schedule, or MAS, meaning that within the schedule, multiple awards or contracts are given to a variety of companies. Right now, you've probably got about 20 to 21,000 companies that have GSA schedules. It doesn't mean that they have sales. It just means that they have been awarded a GSA schedule. We'll say that they're on this, we'll call it a vendor short list. It's also referred to, or kind of falls in the bucket of FSS, which is Federal Supply Schedule. And as you can see here, there is a finite period for the schedule. It starts out as a 5-year contract award, and then at the end of the 5 years, you have an option to renew for another 5 years. And that happens 3 times. So if you, in essence, exercise all of your options and renew, from start to finish, it would be a 20-year contract. At the end of 20 years, you can decide to complete the paperwork again in the proposal and get onto the schedule again. So it's not, say, like the SBA 8A program, where once you graduate and are finished, then you're pretty much toast. With the GSA schedule, you can reapply. The main focus of the schedule, there's a lot that goes into the proposal, and we'll get into that in a moment, but really the biggest emphasis is on GSA obtaining your lowest price. So they really want something that is equal to or better than what they call your most favored customer pricing. And they'll use the acronym MFC for most favored customer. And that's not the customer that you like the best, it's the customer that gets your best pricing. Because the GSA schedule is a contract, it's going to obviously have terms and conditions that you need to abide by. So in order to determine if this is something that could be an advantage to your company or a disadvantage, you need to make sure that you read the solicitation at least twice. It is a hefty document, typically over 100 pages. So you want to make sure that you at least meet the qualifications up front, but that can also maintain the terms and conditions post-award. One of those main conditions is that you bring in at least $25,000 worth of sales specifically through your schedule. So in an example of, let's say you're a government contractor and you've got a $5 million contract with Department of Commerce and another $5 million contract with Department of Defense. And let's say at the end of 2 or 3 years, you've got those 2 contracts, but they weren't purchased from you through the schedule. GSA will more or less cancel your schedule. You'll first get a warning letter or a notification letter that says you're in jeopardy or in danger of losing your schedule because you haven't met the sales quota. So even though you may be doing $10 million in government business, if you can't at least bring in $25,000 through your schedule, and kind of want to highlight and underline that again, through your schedule, then you're not meeting the terms and conditions. GSA is also going to charge you what they call the industrial funding fee, the IFF, which is notated there in the last bullet point. It's 0.75% of your GSA schedule sales only. So at the end of every quarter, you'll need to make sure you have an accounting system that's compliant and easily able to extract your GSA schedule sales. So again, using that same example where you had $5 million worth of sales with Department of Commerce and $5 million with Department of Defense, but nothing that was run through your schedule, your industrial funding fee payment would be 0. Again, they're only looking for a payment on your GSA schedule sales. Okay, the way GSA schedules, I should emphasize here, this is GSA and VA schedules, meaning Veterans Affairs. There's about 39 different schedules, and they're segmented by your product or service. There's about 8 or 9 of those schedules fall under the VA, which is going to be for medical products or medical services. And the schedule, it's an open and rolling RFP process. So you want to download the solicitation and then prepare a compliant and competitive response, and then you become a GSA schedule awardee. Again, that doesn't guarantee any business. It's more or less a hunting license or a ticket to the dance. You still need to eventually close business through your schedule. Some of the things that are required to get onto the schedule are going to be past performance. And the past performance does not need to be with government agencies. If you have other work or contracts that you've completed with commercial companies, that will suffice. If you do have work with federal agencies, then you certainly would like to and should want to highlight that in your proposal. And if you've done anything with perhaps state and local, that should be something that you want to include in there as well. The other, as I mentioned, pricing is really the big piece of the schedule. So you're going to have to disclose your pricing policies and discounts that you've given to customers. The way that you'll do that is through a variety of forms that GSA will require that you complete, as well as providing invoices. So your invoices will justify that you've done this type of work in the past at specific prices, as well as indicate which customers you've given your best discounts to. And so whichever customers have gotten your best discounts, GSA, again, will want equal to or better than, and it's usually better than your most favored customer pricing. Some of the advantages, though, of having the schedule, it does facilitate the purchasing process, so it makes it 100 times easier for the contracting officers to get to you and actually make a quick purchase without having to go through the justification and verification that they are getting the best price and that your company has done this type of work before. All of that gets handled on the front end, and that's really a bulk of the work in getting onto the schedule. Another advantage is that state and local governments can purchase off of specific GSA schedules, and that will be Schedule 70, which is IT products and services, as well as Schedule 84, which is security and law enforcement, and that includes both products and services. Now, there's certain states that can purchase off of any GSA schedule, including DC government. California has something called CMAS, which is CMAS, and that stands for California Multiple Award Schedule. And then for those of you that are on the line that are selling to the Red Cross, the World Bank, the United Nations, a lot of these quasi-government organizations, they also have the authority to purchase from the schedule. They may not always do it, so it may be a kind of a sales process on your side or an educational process, or at least just having that dialogue up front to find out if this is something that they typically use. And that's why kind of the topic here today is asset or liability, because I can't emphasize enough that you really need to speak to your prospects and find out which contract vehicles they use and which ones they prefer, because many program managers or contracting officers within the federal government don't like GSA schedules, and they prefer to use a different mechanism to procure goods or services from you. Others love the schedule. So you don't want to go through the time, effort, and hassle of completing the proposal or spending money on a consulting person like myself or another organization that can help you unless this is something that will truly benefit you. Kind of having the build it and they will come mentality is not always the smartest way to do this. You may just want to consider looking at teaming partners or other companies that have schedules that you can piggyback off of and find out if this is really going to be in your best interest. But another advantage is that it is a status symbol. It shows you're serious about being a federal government contractor, and you will receive dedicated RFPs through GSA's e-buy system, specifically for the schedule that you're on, as well as the special item number. So within those 39 different schedules, so for example, Schedule 70, IT products and services, there will be a host of special item numbers within that schedule that further identify what it is you're offering. So within Schedule 70, there's a special item number 132-51, which is for IT professional services. So for companies that have systems engineers, program managers, and that sort of thing, your contract award would be based on the schedule as well as the special item number. And then once you're on the schedule, like I said, you'll receive these RFPs that are being sent out to all the companies that have and hold that schedule and special item number. So you get dedicated opportunities to respond. Okay, so we'll talk about the proposal because there is a level of effort there, and that should be a business cost, as time and money consideration that you should take into consideration before you decide to pursue this. It's not something that you just kind of put together on the fly and start working on it Monday and turn it in Tuesday. So as I mentioned, you really want to read the solicitation, download it, read it several times, make sure that you're able to comply both pre and post-award and that you understand the business cost in advance as well as after you're on the schedule. There's back office considerations and so forth. So as far as the proposal, there's three main sections of the schedule: the administrative, the technical, and the pricing. So the administrative piece of this, these are the components that make up the administrative section. Pathway to Success. This is a online, I'll call it an online course. It takes all of maybe 30 to 40 minutes to listen to the presentation. It's on the GSA website. And you listen to a presentation, you'll answer some questions at the end, and then a certificate is generated. Print out that certificate. It will have your name on it. It will have your company DUNS number, and it will also have a date when you completed it. This document or this certificate is only going to be good for 12 months. So let's say you decide January 1st, 2015 to start this proposal process, and you take the Pathway to Success, and then the year just gets a little crazy, and you end up not submitting the proposal until February of 2016. So it's a year and a month later. you would then need to retake this pathway to success because it would have been expired.
I have a question from Corey. If as a sub, can I use positions provided to Fed as a sub on a proposal pricing, he asked?
If a sub can use positions provided to Fed. Let's, we're going to get into the contracts and what's required in the technical piece in a moment. So let me go through and answer these towards the end. You also need to make sure that you're registered in SAM and then that SAM registration is relevant. And you also need to notify or disclose if you hold any other GSA schedules. And if you're pursuing maybe another schedule at the same time, you'll need to notify both schedules that what you're pursuing, as well as any schedules that you pursued that you were perhaps rejected from. Financials are also going to be required, so you'll need a full 24 months of balance sheet and income statement. And I always suggest that you submit at least 3 years because sometimes GSA will come back and request another year. Or if you have partials for maybe the year that you're submitting, maybe you're 3 months into the year and you've got a quarterly statement, I would include that as well. Large businesses are required to submit a sub-K plan, which is a subcontracting plan, meaning they're going to be required to parse out a certain percentage of their GSA schedule business to small companies. And that's going to be designated by veteran-owned, women-owned, hub-zone, 8A, and the whole 9 yards. The last piece of the administrative part of the proposal is going to be a readiness assessment. Similar to the Pathway to Success, this is a GSA form found on their website that will go through a series of questions. I think there's maybe, I don't know, 25 or 30 questions, a couple pages long, but it requires some research and some just comprehension on your part to ensure that you know exactly what you're signing up for. And that's also a good way to understand that this is an asset or liability, because some of the questions that they're going to ask there are, you know, how many companies within the schedule that you're pursuing have 0 sales? Well, as I mentioned on the earlier slide, there's about 20,000 companies that hold GSA schedules, and the number right now is about 60 to 63%. So 63, more than half of the vendors have 0 sales, which obviously is not a good thing, and therefore the schedule is really not working in their favor. So either somebody sold them something that they didn't need, or they pursued this too quickly without really understanding who their customer is and how the customer purchases. Okay, so we covered the administrative. We'll now move on to the technical. This piece of the proposal requires probably the biggest amount of writing. You're going to have another GSA form or a template that's available on their website called the Corporate Narrative. This is a 2-page maximum, so you can't exceed 2 pages. And if you're just submitting half a page, I would say you probably want to beef this up and really fill out the 2 pages. A series of questions there, just questions about history of the company and the expertise that you have that are relevant to the schedule that you're pursuing. Same thing there with quality control. It's a 2-page maximum. Fill out the whole 2 pages. Don't put a sentence in there that says, please see our quality control process, Appendix A, and don't cut and paste your quality control process. That's not what they're looking for. They have specific questions that you should be answering. So just answer the questions in full, complete sentences. Same thing with the corporate narrative. Just answer in full, complete sentences. Don't change anything. Don't add any graphics or your logo. It's just answer the questions. The next piece of this technical section are project experiences. And you'll need 2 of these for each of the special item numbers that you're pursuing. These are time sensitive, meaning that these contracts need to be completed within the last 2 years to the month. And they need to be contracts that are relevant to the work that the description that's in the special item number. Again, it's going to be a GSA template, so fill out the document. It's a 4-page maximum. Again, fill out the full 4 pages. Don't add any funny graphics or logos. And you'll also need to include a copy of the contract. A copy of the contract does not count against the 4-page maximum. And the last piece of the techno is going to be the Open Ratings report. Open Ratings is a subsidiary of Dun & Bradstreet. I believe their website is openratings.com. You'll go in there, and this is basically a survey that your customers will fill out on your company's behalf. So they'll be evaluating you anonymously on the quality of your work, the pricing, the customer service, and just kind of those general business questions. The minimum number of customers to complete an Open Ratings report is 4, and the maximum that you can use is 20. I always suggest at least 6 or more, because if you use 4 and somebody's unhappy, then your numbers are going to be thrown off. And again, you really want to make sure that people that you're sending this to are happy. The other thing that you want to make sure is that whoever you're using on the Open Ratings report, they also need to be coming from the people that you used in the item above, the project experiences. So if part of your project experience includes Joe Smith from Lockheed Martin, Joe Smith from Lockheed Martin is also going to have to complete this Open Ratings report for you. And this document is also time sensitive. It will expire in 12 months. So if you think it's going to take you a while to complete the GSA schedule proposal, you may want to save this towards the end, towards when you're getting really close to submitting. And same thing with the other items that are time sensitive. So now we'll get into to the pricing. So your pricing, especially for service companies, should be fully burdened, meaning that whatever job titles or labor categories you're proposing, you want to include fringe and overhead and G&A and everything else that that makes your hourly rate fully burdened. There is a GSA form called the CSP, which is the Commercial Sales Practice. And again, that's found on the GSA website, and that's where you're required to disclose to GSA which customers are receiving your best discounts, and really you're indicating who your most favored customer is. Again, for service companies, you'll have to have a labor category description for every job title. So if you have a systems engineer, or for any job title, you'll need to include a description of what that job title does, the minimum education requirements, and the minimum numbers of years experience. So that will be a spreadsheet with 4 columns. Again, job title, the description, minimum number of years education, and minimum number of years experience. Behind that, you'll have to have an invoice justification for every job title. So if you have a systems engineer level 1 and a systems engineer level 2, and they're going to be at different prices, you'll need an invoice for each of those showing the fully burdened hourly rate. In addition, you'll need your HR plan, so your human resources plan on how you compensate overtime, and that should be in accordance with federal regulations, meaning that you need to specify that overtime is paid at time and a half. And I see we've got more questions coming in. I'll get to those at the end because some of these might be answered in some of the slides that we're covering. SCA is the Service Contract Act. So if you are offering non-professional job titles, and sometimes this is going to be more relevant for, let's say, HVAC or some of those industries, you'll then need to include a labor matrix indicating hourly rates, and that can be found on the Department of Labor website. The other piece that goes into the pricing is going to be your price proposal. So this will include every job title or product that you're offering, along with your commercial price. You'll indicate who your most favored customer is for each of those line items, what the discount is that your most favorite customer receives, and then the discount that you're going to be offering to the government, which again should be equal to or better than your most favored customer. For those companies that actually have products, and this is something that you should do in advance of going through the proposal, you want to make sure that the items that you're proposing, if they are being manufactured, you want to ensure that they're being manufactured in Trade Agreement Act compliant countries. So if something's being made in North Korea, China, Cuba, Turkey, these countries are not CAA compliant and therefore cannot go onto the schedule. Now, I will say that the government will purchase items from Turkey and China and other countries, but they cannot be on the GSA schedule. Also, if you're a dealer or reseller for one manufacturer or multiple manufacturers, you'll need to obtain a letter of supply from each of those manufacturers. And this is going to be a GSA form that is on their website. And the manufacturer uses is probably something that you want to do before you start completing the administrative and technical sections, is make sure that your manufacturer is on board with signing this letter. They're basically agreeing to authorize you to provide their products to the government, and that they will provide an unlimited supply of the product. Some companies get a little bit hesitant about that and say you can't change the wording. The manufacturer really needs to sign off on that. So if you don't have that letter, then you're going to be going nowhere fast. The other piece to note on products is Ability One. Ability One is a nonprofit organization through the government, through Unicor, which is part of the Department of Justice, and individuals with disabilities are making anything from, I think, uniform to other products. So if the Ability One folks are producing a product that you are also producing, this cannot go onto the GSA schedule. Another thing to note is that you also need to have a policy in place to be able to monitor what new products Ability One is producing, and to ensure that over time that if any of the countries that your products are being made in come off of the TAA list, that you have a way to monitor that and then remove them from the schedule. Okay, we talked about pricing being the utmost important part of the schedule. So here's an example, and really why sometimes the schedule could be a liability for your firm. Let's just say you're selling widgets at $10 each, or you've got a labor category that's $10 per hour. It would be the same scenario here, or same example. And your most favored customer is large company, Coca-Cola, and they're getting a rate of $10 an hour, or I'm sorry, $9 an hour, or $9 for each of your widgets. And so you establish your GSA price is going to be better than your most favored customer, and so your GSA rate is $8. So your GSA rate is more or less a price ceiling, or a not to exceed price. So once you're on the schedule and you've got your GSA rate and you decide to bid on work at, let's say, Department of Commerce, you can bid below that $8, and that's fine. However, in the commercial world, or if you sell outside of your schedule to another government entity or another organization, and you dip below that that most favored customer rate, you are then required to notify GSA and reduce your GSA rate by that same percentage. And this is something that is referred to as the price reduction clause. And this is really probably the biggest area where companies get burned, where they lose their schedule and end up having to pay GSA thousands, hundreds of thousands, and in some cases, depending upon the size of the company and the volume of their business, millions of dollars. So you want to make sure that you have a back office system to be able to monitor when your prices dip below your most favored customer rate, and to be able to ensure that you're still going to be able to make margins and be a profitable business by having this schedule. Again, the whole emphasis of the schedule is price. Okay, next steps. So now you've got your proposal put together, you've got your administrative, technical, and pricing. You want to ensure that you've got a digital certificate, and not just any digital certificate. This needs to be a GSA-approved digital certificate. On the GSA website, there's two companies that will furnish you with a digital certificate. The cost is roughly $200, and that is good for 2 years. So I guess I should have noted on there that that is also a time-sensitive component. Digital certificate is something that is person and device specific. So it's more or less a token that allows you to upload your proposal to GSA. So you hop onto the GSA eOffer website, which is gsa.eoffer.gov. Digital certificate shows up. It'll have your name and some credentials, and then basically kind of opens the door, and you can start uploading the various pieces of your proposal. This is where you also want to go back, and we talked about the GSA schedule being an RFP. And that RFP, each schedule will have something on it called a refresh number. And the refresh number basically indicates when GSA last made an update to that solicitation or to that RFP. So in the example where you decide January 1st of 2015 that you're going to go pursue a GSA schedule, you download the solicitation for Schedule 70, which is IT services, and it says refresh number 24. And let's say 6 to 7 months go by and you finally decide to submit in July or June or July of 2015. You make your submission, it comes back rejected, and it says you were submitting for a invalid or out-of-date refresh number. So this is why you always want to keep an eye on that refresh number, because GSA will sometimes go in and make a change to the RFP. They may require an additional document be completed, or they're going to update the terms and conditions, and that will then reflect in the new refresh number. So you want to make sure that you're submitting for the appropriate and current refresh. Okay, you submit your proposal, and your wait time is going to be anywhere on the short side, I'd say maybe 4 months, but more realistically, you're probably looking somewhere between 6 and 9 months. Some schedules have a 12 to 16-month wait time, meaning it's going to take GSA that long just to review your proposal. At that point, one of 3 things is going to happen. You'll either get a letter from GSA saying, hey, we've got questions, we want to see an additional round of invoices from you, we want to see additional contracts that you've worked on that are relevant to the schedule, we want to see an additional year of balance sheet and financial statements. That usually happens. The clarification is about 99% of the time. The other thing that can happen is they reject your schedule. It could have been the wrong refresh number, it could be out of scope, meaning the contracts that you're submitting are not relevant to the schedule. The other thing that happens about 1% of the time is they love everything that you've sent, they accept it, and then you move right into the price negotiations. Clarifications, again, is the most common, and that can take place just by exchanging emails, and those are going to have due dates. So you may get a note from GSA via email on Monday that says, here's our clarifications, and it may be 1 page, it could be 5 pages worth of questions, and then it may be due on close of business Wednesday. So similar to typical government contracting, it's kind of a hurry up and wait. So hurry up, submit your responses, and then wait for them to come back with either additional clarifications or moving into the price proposal. I'm sorry, the price negotiation. Okay, price negotiations, this can happen over the phone or via email, and GSA is going to be looking for deeper discounts on each and every line item that you've proposed. So one strategy here is really not to give away the farm up front, because you want to have room to negotiate on this phone call or over email. Also, they may be looking for prompt payment discounts. This usually happens, I'd say, 99% of the time, as well as volume or quantity discounts. So they may say, how about you give us a 1% discount if somebody purchases $250,000 worth of business through the schedule. So just be prepared for those, or if you want, you can also take the approach of proposing those discounts in advance. On this phone call or via email, as they're looking at who your most favored customer is, the most favored customer could be either, in the example of that $10 widget, it could be Coca-Cola, or it could be a category or class of customers, meaning perhaps your company just gives a discount to all nonprofits and associations every time you work with them. You give just a flat 2% discount. So during this exchange with GSA, they will identify, again, this most favored customer more or less becomes your basis of award customer. And that's the customer that You'll need to monitor their pricing to ensure that post-award, post-GSA schedule award, if that customer's pricing dips below your GSA rate, you're then required to notify GSA and lower your GSA rate by the same discount. Okay, so let's assume then moving forward that everything has been satisfied via the price negotiations phone call or email exchange. You'll then receive a document called the final proposal revision. This will really outline everything that you guys agreed to agree on with GSA. It'll outline the terms and conditions. So you want to put that on your company letterhead, sign it, date it. You'll send it back to GSA, and then shortly thereafter, usually I'd say within about a week, sometimes 2 weeks, could be shorter, you'll receive your award letter. That's going to have your GSA schedule number, your award dates, which is going to be a 5-year period, and then they'll send you the SF30, which is the standard Form 30, which is really the official document. All of these documents, I'm not a big fan of paper. I like everything electronically, but GSA will be coming out for audits, and they usually do that twice within every 5-year period. And so you want to make sure that you've got these documents and this paperwork with you so that you are remaining compliant. Because when the person comes to your site, it's nice to have a folder and be able to hand them the SF30s, and the other documents that went into the proposal. Okay, post-award, a couple things will happen here. You've got 6 months, and I wouldn't say wait 6 months. I would say do it the moment that you are awarded your schedule, is to register in GSA eBuy, which is where you receive the RFPs that are dedicated just for the GSA schedule holders. GSA Advantage is where contracting officers and other folks within government can do more or less an Amazon or eBay search for items, meaning products, as well as services. So you want to make sure that you're listed in all of these things, as well as GSA eLibrary, which will outline your terms and conditions and contract administration person contact details. I would suggest on number 1 on the GSA eBuy that you've got at least 3 folks from your company registered there, because somebody may be on vacation, somebody may be out sick, somebody's traveling, and a lot of times these RFPs may come on Monday and they're due on Wednesday. So they're usually have a pretty quick turnaround, especially in Q4 when the government has the use it or lose it mentality. You're also going to need to register on GSA's website, which is the 72A. So I believe it's 72a.gsa.gov, and that's where you're going to pay the industrial funding fee, which is, again, that 0.75%. That gets paid only on your GSA schedule sales. As I mentioned, GSA comes out for audits twice within every 5-year period. They don't really call it an audit. They call it a customer-assisted visit. And they can actually do this prior to award. It happens sometimes probably with larger companies versus smaller guys, but they will request invoices for your products or services, commercial invoices, government invoices, GSA schedule invoices, and so forth. And then post-award, you can make changes to your schedule. You can update your prices. You can add products, add services, remove items, and so forth. There is a time limit if you have a commercial price list versus using market rates for your pricing. Then you have to wait at least 12 months before you can go in and make a price change, meaning a price increase, and there will be a limit of 10%, I believe. Your commercial price will also need to be updated by 10% if you're going to increase your GSA rate by 10%. So with that being said, with those, at least those 6 things, there's, again, some administration to this. It also helps to have a human body out there selling and knocking on the doors and helping you get into the agencies. The renewals, so there's 3 renewal periods, which will, again, in essence, make the GSA schedule a 20-year contract. And those renewals are going to be a little bit of a level of effort similar to what you did to get onto the schedule in the first place. And again, just in that back office, you need to be able to monitor your price reduction clause, your basis of award customer, to ensure that GSA is, in fact, the entity that's getting your most or your lowest prices, better than or equal to your most favored customer. The $25,000 sales quota, again, is specifically needs to be run through your schedule. GSA gives you a grace period for the first 2 years. You have to bring in $25,000, and then every year thereafter, $25,000. Again, specifically through your schedule. Some thoughts here. Schedule's not for everybody. As I mentioned earlier, only about 10% of government purchases take place through the schedule. So you want to make sure that whoever your prospect or your customer is, that they are using the GSA schedule. GSA just does a really good job of marketing the schedule, but there are not hundreds, but there's a slew of other contract vehicles. DHS Eagle, Navy Seaport E, OPM has their own contract vehicle, and there's others. So find out again specifically what contract vehicles your prospects and customers are using. And make sure that you meet both the pre and post award requirements. And as far as asset or liability, a lot of this is going to come down to pricing. And right now in the environment of LPTA, of lowest price technically acceptable, GSA schedules are, are a great vehicle to use because your pricing has already been established, but companies will find themselves bidding lower than their GSA schedule rates. So your margins may be pretty small, but it could be a good way to kind of help you get into the door. We talked about back office and compliance, monitoring the price reduction clause, and there should be an E on the end of there. Sorry about that. Also, another myth I think is sometimes people think that once you get onto a GSA schedule, especially for services, that you just then kind of check a box and you can then start winning business, which is not the case. You're still going to be required to submit written proposals and narratives and so forth to win work through your schedule. So make sure that you know that there's a level of effort and cost and time involved with that, as well as having a human body out there to help you kind of drive business through the schedule. And I'm going to take a sip of water and then start reading through the questions. Or Elizabeth, I guess, do you have?
Yeah, one of the questions that Mohammed posed was, can a current contract and ongoing contract be used for a GSA schedule?
So if I understand the question, let's say you have a contract with a federal agency and it's direct between you and that agency, and say it's multi-year, I would say sit down with whoever the contracting officer is, and if they want to kind of change up the terms and they want to make this then a GSA schedule purchase, it's really, I'd say, up to the discretion of on the government side. So if you obtain your schedule, you probably want to let anyone that you have a current contract with know that. So when it comes out for recompete, they can then set it aside as a GSA schedule award.
Do we have any other questions?
The one, I think, from the beginning, which I can scroll back to, Corey's question about if a subcontractor can use positions provided to the government as a sub on a proposal pricing. I'm not sure I understand if it can be rewarded.
He's saying if he was a sub on a larger contract and pricing was used in that, I think, maybe.
So if your company is pursuing the GSA schedule and you're in that section, the technical section where you need to provide copies of contracts, and I'm assuming this is kind of where that question is originating from. Can you use contracts where you've been a sub to a prime? Yes. Yeah. So those project experiences can be with commercial companies, prime contractors, direct relationships with the government, state and local, and that sort of thing.
Another way to ask that would be if the price that was quoted on the main contract for their work, would it be that price or the price that they were paid by the prime contractor?
Yeah, the price they were paid by the prime. You're always going to use the invoices that your company generates, not somebody else.
Do we have any other questions? Oh, there we go. Mohammed would like to rephrase his question. So he has a current contract that can be used as past performance. Can it be used as past performance, or does he have to wait 1 year to use that as past performance?
This is a good question. They're all good questions. But as far as your past performance, you probably want to have at least 6 months of the engagement under your belt. So let's say it's a January through December 31st contract. You're working on putting your GSA proposal together. You probably don't want to submit that until, say, July, where you've got at least 6 months of invoices generated from that engagement.
And then we have Jim asked, can a small business use a large business schedule as a pass-through? We've had companies offer to allow us to use their schedule, but we are not familiar. Thoughts?
Schedule. So if, and there's organizations out there such as MX Group and Carasoft that are focused on IT, which I'm assuming most of the audience is probably kind of falling in those sectors. So you can find partners that are on the schedule and have them add your products or your services to their schedule. And it's a great strategy to kind of start out versus just jumping feet first into the schedule process. Kind of take some baby steps. And one resource I would direct you to is just going on to the GSA website for the schedule, specific schedule that your products or your services fall under. And then within there, click on the hyperlink for the special item number, which again further identifies what your product or service is. That will then take you to more or less an online spreadsheet of all the companies that hold that specific schedule, but even more specifically that special item number. And there's maybe, I don't know, I'm going to say 7 or 8 columns. One's going to be the company name. It'll have their schedule number. It'll have a contact name and phone number. But I think it's maybe like the second or third column from the far right. It will designate if this company is S for small, 8A for 8A, W for woman-owned. If it has an O next to it, it means other. And other means this is a large business. And if you remember from the beginning, in that administrative piece of the proposal, of the GSA proposal, large businesses are required to submit a subcontracting plan, meaning that they are required to parse out a certain percentage of their GSA schedule sales to small businesses. So those are probably companies that you want to reach out to. Again, their contact information is going to be on there. If it says O, it means other, it means large business. And so they're probably going to be more than willing to chat with you. And that's, just a great way to kind of take some baby steps into working with GSA schedules. Now, your margins may be a little bit smaller because the lead company or the large business is going to obviously want to be profitable and take your services and mark them up a little bit. But at least it gives you some past performance and some experience and helps you decide and make a more sound decision on if a schedule is going to be a benefit or disadvantage to your company.
That's really useful, Jennifer. Thanks. Would they get, Jim also asked, would they get credit for prime work, or would we as a small business?
Well, the prime is going to be the prime, so they're going to have probably 51% or more of the business, and so they're getting credit for subcontracting with you because that's part of their subcontracting plan is to meet those small business subcontracting goals. So the lead company is going to be the prime. He's going to have the direct engagement with the government customer, and you're just, not just, but you will be a subcontractor. So your relationship is B2B, business to business, even though you could eventually have, people in seats at government agencies. Your payment is coming from whoever that large company is.
It's a good way to get the relationship started with the end user, though, at the government agency.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a great way to get on site, build relationships, get inside, shake some hands, and just kind of feel your way around until you decide that, it could be something that your company could leverage by having the schedule.
Brendan asked if you could talk a bit about the class in January that we're going to be offering.
Sure. So it's going to be January 9th. It's going to be out at the Mason Enterprise Center, which, right. And what we're going to do is actually go through the administrative, the technical, and the pricing section. So it'll be hands-on. Bring your device or pen and paper, and everyone will have internet access. So if you've got your contracts and invoices, on your hard drive or some sort of shared drive, we're going to be really putting together the GSA proposal. It's going to be a couple hours. I think we started at maybe 9 and it goes 9 to 3 or 10 to 4, something like that.
We started at 9 or 10. Let me pull it up and check.
Okay. And that day is a Friday. And if anybody's interested in that, if they want to talk to me one-on-one, prior to that, my contact information is there.
Yep, 10 a.m. Starts at 10 and runs until 4. And then Brendan asked, can we expect to leave there with something that is ready to be submitted, assuming they come with the relevant information?
Yeah, so most of what's going to be happening that day is really something that's going to be ready to submit. There might be something that you need to complete at home that evening. The open ratings report is something that your customers are going to have to fill out. So, and that usually takes about a week or two for them to respond. If you don't have the digital certificate, that may be another week or two. But as far as really kind of the bulk of it, the meat and potatoes, yes, that's something that will be completed right then and there.
Great. Okay. Does anyone else have any other questions?
Great. Well, thanks everybody for attending. Again, this is recorded, so everybody will get a copy of this, and we'll post this on our website and LinkedIn and all the relevant online places to upload presentations. Again, thanks to everybody at the George Mason PTAP, and thanks for everybody taking time out of their schedule to tune in.
We really appreciate you coming to speak to us, Jennifer. Thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth.